Good afternoon to you, Mark South with HurricaneTrack.com. Here it is Saturday, the 27th of August, 2022. Time for our hurricane outlook and discussion. Going to look at a big September possibly coming up after a blank August. It does look like probably going to end the month with no named storms, no hurricanes, no ace points on the board. Very unusual. So we're going to see, does September change, or is it pretty much of the same of what we had through August? And the seasonal forecasts, just a complete disaster. It's not over yet, and certainly there are plenty of opportunities for stuff to happen over the coming days, and it'll just be interesting to see, does this persist into the month of September and beyond? A few signs out there certainly that could in fact be the case. So let's start out with what is happening right now. We're still in August, and look, we have three areas of interest over the next several days. One, eventually over here in the Northwest Caribbean Sea from a feature that is currently located in this position right now. And then we have our next potential area of probably our next invest. I think it's going to be, what, 91L if it does so. And it's over here in the tropical central Atlantic. 40% chance of development over the next 5 days. A lot of talk about this one, as you could imagine. And then a new disturbance eventually going to make its way off the African coast. And that could go on to generally try to develop as we get into the month of September as well. So changes are afoot. How long those changes last and what potential impacts they have, well, of course, that is the part that remains to be seen, and that's what we try to do, is figure it out together. As I mentioned yesterday, boy, the noticeable increase in convection in the Atlantic. If I could show you something from 2 weeks ago and compare them, I would. I just wasn't thinking ahead of time to save a satellite picture from just 10 days ago. But you would really notice, I mean, look, we have this right here, some stuff off the southeast coast, something in the Gulf of Mexico, lots of thunderstorm activity in and around Central America, this huge area trying to come together out here, a giant area of convection off of Africa, and even some activity in the eastern Pacific. That is the Madden-Julian oscillation doing its magic and letting the air rise more, just a more fostering environment for upward motion. And the atmosphere has been taking advantage of that with more areas of deep convection. Now we're looking to see, does anything bundle all of this available energy and focus it into a tropical storm or a hurricane, or even a depression for that matter. Tropical depressions and even tropical waves can bring copious amounts of moisture and flooding risks. I think we all know that by now, but just a gentle reminder. Underneath all of those moving clouds, what do we got? A little bit of energy here in the Caribbean. This is going to move over towards the Northwest Caribbean with time, where it might become more energized. It'll be interesting to see. And again, I've said it a lot of times, I love this product because you can literally see where the energy is trying to come together. And I think it's obvious. This is the area we really need to watch right now. Bundling of that energy starting to happen, a fairly low latitude out here. That is what it looks like underneath. There's my AirTag talking to me again. What it looks like underneath all of this cloudiness out here, the circulation, the vorticity is down here. Not a lot of thunderstorm activity with it. It's trying. The upward motion part is there, but the atmosphere out here, part of the atmosphere is still kind of dry in the mid-levels, lower humidity values, and so the instability, the ability to create deep thunderstorms from an instability standpoint, the upper levels are favorable. It's just there's not enough moisture in the atmosphere, in part of the atmosphere anyway, for it to get going. But that is certainly a sign that down near the surface, things are starting to converge, come together, and give us that spin or vorticity over a fairly large area. This could be quite a formidable system if it ever gets its act together. All right, now let's take a look at the models here just a little bit. I could spend an hour or two if I really wanted to, but that really starts to get too long and laborious. So we're going to just kind of break it down and look at the GFS, and then we're going to look at the Euro. And on this one here, this particular panel, we're going to focus on the potential Caribbean system as it tries to develop potentially over the coming days. This is our current situation. Let's switch the color to black here. There is the parent vorticity, or little piece of energy currently right now this afternoon. And this is what happens with it. I'm going to leave that there. Watch over the next 48 hours or so. Let's just scooch it out to hour number 48. Not a lot there, but still a little bit of a piling up of the atmosphere Down here, the air starting to gradually pile up there, slow down. How do I know that? Because you're starting to see those yellows in there. That is the relative vorticity or the cyclonic vorticity coming together. As that air starts to slow, it piles up or converges on itself, and then it starts to rotate because of the Earth's rotation and other factors that go on down there. And the GFS, anyway, seems to indicate that by days 3 and 4, there's 3 right there, 72 hours. See, it starts to become a little bit more marked. I guess that's a word, a marked increase anyway. And then by hour 96, it would seem that it is off to the races. But what does that mean? What's going to happen with it from there on out, if that's even there? And that's only 4 days out. You would hope that the model is reliable enough that we can say, okay, there's a decent chance that something down there will be of interest for our friends in Central America, Belize, the Yucatan, maybe along the northern coast of Honduras and Nicaragua down here, maybe. But if it's not there and the model is just wrong, then, well, there's nothing to really worry about. So we'll see. It's going to be an interesting few days ahead. By day 5, it really starts to get organized there, maybe even a depression, possibly. That is a decent signature. And then just to show you day 6 and day 7, it crosses the Yucatan and into the eastern parts of the Bay of Campeche. Now, this is very important because if this is here, it could influence on, have influences on whatever might be over here. The GFS indicating that our tropical wave way out here does try to develop, moderately so, and be well positioned to the north and east of Puerto Rico. Well to the north and east of that area. No threat from the GFS anyway for that area. Now just to compare a couple things, at hour 168, let's see what the Canadian shows, the Canadian global model. Not even close. Nothing in this area over here. Instead, it's down in the eastern Pacific. And as such, our central Atlantic wave that's over here becomes much more formidable and is much closer to the northeast Caribbean and a little bit more amplified at 168 hours out. And just to run it back in time a little bit, you see how that evolves. A lot of energy over here, sort of this gyre down here, it focuses more in the Pacific, nothing in the eastern Bay of Campeche or Gulf or whatever, and then this starts to amplify a lot more. Very curious because if we switch over to the Euro, this is 5 days out, and this is the broader view. This is Africa over here. This is that wave that was number 3 on the old Hurricane Center map that I showed you. And then just a small bump, I mean virtually nothing there, the most energy or vorticity, again, in the Gulf of Tehuantepec down here in the eastern Pacific. So the GFS operational kind of standing alone here in its development of something in this vicinity over here. And I think that has a lot of influence on what might or might not happen with our central Atlantic system. All right, so that's day 5, and then finally day 6 here. The Euro will cooperate with me. There's day 6, 144, and then finally day 7. Sorry, skip past it. There's day 7. Comfortably north, hopefully comfortably so, north of Puerto Rico and vicinity. We're going to change the perspective just a little bit. There you go. Pretty well developed. Might be a hurricane in the model. I could speculate that. And then this is down here. Very similar to, and this is important, folks. I'm going to switch this. That's the Euro. That's the Canadian. That's the GFS. Yeah, I'd say there's a lot of differences there, especially with what is going on over in this area. And even the GFS is trying to do something down here. So, how can you believe anything beyond 5 days if this all even happens as it's showing with steering patterns, with intensities or whatever? I think a lot of this is really going to hinge on what happens here. And the less there is up here at all, the more could happen over here. So it's a mystery. It really is. That's what makes this stuff, part of it anyway, so interesting to track, because it's not just your standard, oh, we know the next 8 days exactly what's going to happen, or 10 days out. I mean, we can't even know for sure what's going to happen 5 to 7 days out. Pretty big discrepancies between 3 substantial global models the GFS, that's the American system, the GFS, the Global Forecast System, trying to say a lot at once, and then the Canadian, the CMC, and the European, the ECMWF. Kind of big differences there, I think we could all agree to. All right? What else did I want to show you? Well, a big part, like I said, of why the Atlantic is looking as active as it is because the MJO is currently favoring all of that activity right now. We have a few days left, and then it goes into the null phase for a while, which doesn't shut the Atlantic down. It's just there's no discernible amplified MJO, so whatever is set into motion should stay in motion out there, and we should enter September with a fairly busy pattern already in place, and this, folks, is a big part of it. Most of the main development region now, very warm compared to the long-term average. I don't want to say very warm, got to keep it accurate. Warm enough, certainly enough so that we're talking almost a degree Celsius on average out here with these different gradients, as you can see. But then, boy, the western Atlantic, the Caribbean, southwest Atlantic, Gulf, well above the long-term average there, 2 to 3 degrees Celsius in some locations. And the La Nina out here, these are your instability waves that it's just like in the atmosphere, you can see that sometimes. And the ocean is a fluid, duh. The atmosphere is a fluid. It is just not as thick and dense as the oceans are. So you get instability waves in the atmosphere. You get these in the ocean as well. Differences in temperature and the way the currents are moving. Looks like little waves out here. Really interesting. That's that La Nina really flourishing as we approach the climatological peak of hurricane season. More favorable conditions are setting in, leading me to believe, as well as other people that are watching this with keen interest, that it looks like logic would dictate that September into October could be very, very busy with more activity than we have seen. And of course, that's a lot more than zero. One is more than zero, I'm just saying. But I think a lot busier than even that. The potential is certainly there. I want to be a little cautious and not rush to judgment yet, because we still haven't had a named storm since Colin, right? We're still waiting on Danielle, and that's been almost 60 days or something like that, more than 55 days if memory serves. But I think things are getting ready to change, and perhaps in a big way. We'll see about that. All right, this is the part where I ask you, subscribe to the channel. All the new people that have come along, I appreciate you. Good to have you aboard. Don't forget, hit that notification bell or whatever it is these days to get notified from HurricaneTrack. That's me, that's us, our team, and you get notified. You get sent an email or whatever it is. Hey, I think it's a push notification too that I have published a new video. That's how you do it. All right? All right, couple of things of note before I let you go. Tomorrow afternoon, I'm going to be leaving and heading down to Florida. I'm actually leaving today. I'm going to drive halfway. I'm going down to Florida. I'm going to watch the rocket launch. On Monday, I'm taking my daughter with me, one of my daughters, and I'm going to meet up with a couple of our colleagues that we have in Florida. A gentleman that I work with was very nice to get us a pass to get out to the jetty area and park out there to get to as close as we can to see Artemis 1. Very important for the United States, for all the space interest of our planet as a whole. This is important, maybe going back to the moon, all fingers crossed here, and eventually Mars. It's exciting, so I'm going to go down for that. I will have an update in the morning. I'm thinking I'm staying in Georgia or somewhere tonight. But and then again on Monday, very early in the morning Monday, I'll probably schedule it to be published like at 7 a.m. or something. But I'll stay on top of all of this even while I'm traveling. It's weird to go to Florida in the heart of hurricane season and there's not a hurricane coming yet. That's the key. And you're going to see a lot about that in the coming days. Just another aside. Many people with opinions on what's going to happen with this feature out here, and nobody knows. Nobody knows what the pattern's going to be 5 days out, much less 10. And I'm going to end on that note. It could go either way. That's all I'm going to say about that. All right? All right. Have a great rest of your Saturday afternoon. As always, thanks for giving me a piece of your time and attention. I do appreciate it from whatever device you're tuning in from. It's awesome, as always, to have you. I am Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack. I'll be back with you again tomorrow with a brief look at things during the What's Up segment. And then again on Monday from down in Florida.